Hello, my name is Darwin German, and I'm excited to be here to introduce you to commercial real estate investing. First, I better give you some history. My name is Darwin German. I grew up in Southern California, and I was the son of a mechanic. My dad was a mechanic, my grandfather was a mechanic, my great-grandfather was a mechanic. Funny enough, I always used to laugh at this. His name was Otto, and I always thought that was so ironic that his name is Otto and he was a mechanic. Never really realizing it's O-T-T-O, but that's just me being a dork anyway. But my father was a mechanic, and he owned his own shop, and he gave me 3 rules. He said, 1, own your own business. 2, be the best at what you do. And the 3rd one, I'm going to keep a secret. Well, all my life growing up, he was a mechanic. He worked his butt off. He worked 12, 14-hour days every day. And when he wasn't working as a mechanic, he invested in small apartment communities and rental houses. So I grew up doing make-readies, working on the properties. Every weekend, it was up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Let's go work on some apartment. So I grew up working on these apartment communities and rental houses with my father and grandfather. When I was 15, my dad decided he was working too hard, too many hours. So he actually gave his business away. He kept the real estate, but he gave his business away. When he did that, he went into full-time into commercial real estate. He became a broker and started selling automotive-related businesses. And it was nice because he'd go in there, start talking to the mechanics that owned the shop with grease under his fingernails that he could never get out. And he had instant rapport with them. It was an immediate success because he knew how to speak their language and he understood real estate. I used to joke around about, thank God that he switched from being a mechanic into commercial real estate, because I was a horrible mechanic. Horrible. Well, there at 15, 16 years old, impressionable, trying to figure out what I want to do, I started working with him in the real estate field. He was teaching me everything he knew starting at that point. Part of what he also did is they have started a property management company where they managed office buildings and medical centers and strip centers. And when I was 17, I was working for the management company, so I was working the management side. I was helping him as an assistant on the brokerage side and getting to know the ins and outs of all the property management, how value was created, etc. When I was 18, I graduated high school and I started a business called College Maintenance. So I started College Maintenance when I was 18. And what we provided is, I say we, I was the only employee. We provided maintenance on office buildings. This included, stopped up toilets, painting suites, checking air conditioners, checking breakers, troubleshooting problems before we called out the expensive trades. Well, that was really nice. First business I started, College Maintenance. I was in college, making good money, on call 24 hours a day. When I was 19, this was 1989, the property that my dad owned was sold. He ended up getting some money out of that, and he wanted to do a 1031 exchange. Well, there was no investment property, no good bargains in investment property in Southern California. So he started looking elsewhere and found a property in Duncanville, Texas. He flew out, met with some brokers, saw a property. He was so excited about it, he turned around, flew back, got my mom, got her on a plane, and flew her out to Texas. And 7 days later, November 8th, 1989, they bought the first property in Texas. That property was Candlelight Park Apartments in Duncanville, Texas, 128 units. When I was a kid growing up, some of the maintenance that I did is I did pool service, did make-readies, cleaned carpets, painted, fixed toilets, replaced light fixtures. There was even one point in time where I re-roofed a building, and I was only 12 years old. That was the kind of education I had as background for getting into commercial real estate. So they bought this property, Candlelight Park Apartments in Duncanville, Texas. His assistant working in property management, I would come with him out to Texas to check on the property that he bought. Funny thing, The lender required that he hire a professional management company. He hired the professional management company. About 60 days into having that professional management company, he sees his reports and saw that there was $40,000 in uncollected rent. He said, "What are you doing about the uncollected rent?" And they said, "We noticed that too. What would you like us to do?" After the expletives, he said, "Collect my money. That is rent that is due. Go collect it." Seeing that this professional management company was not doing a good job, he started Darkor Management Group. And that's when it was created, 1989. In 1989, my father had a client that came into a lot of money and wanted to invest in real estate. He said the best place to invest is in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. They thought, oh, that's all fine and dandy, but what's this little podunk broker know about where to invest? So they turned to their financial consultants, Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs said, the best place to invest, Dallas-Fort Worth. They said, hey, he knew what he was talking about. So they asked him to create a plan on how to invest. They allocated $50 million. So he tells me about all this, and we start creating a business plan, a business model to invest that $50 million. And what we said is let's find particular properties built in the 1980s, underperforming, 60% of replacement cost, in the suburbs of major metropolitan areas, and identified some of those areas, Dallas-Fort Worth, Phoenix, Southern California, even Seattle, Washington. So we put together this plan, assembled the team, 2 other brokers, banker, a couple of assistants, and we looked at every property available on the market and made offers on those properties pursuant to the terms that we would buy them under. When we found the target properties, we would put them under contract, actually start negotiating a letter of intent. Now all these terms, you'll learn all these terms over time. Don't get scared by any of these terms I'm using. And we entered into a letter of intent. Well, they said, Stroke, go start doing the due diligence. So myself and a team of people, we would go out to the properties and start due diligence. Due diligence, real quick, is when you investigate everything, make sure you're getting a good property. In heading up that due diligence team, we looked at every part of the property. Came up with a report of what it needed, what the plan was, how we're going to create value, what we're going to do. We'd create a plan for those properties after we got the due diligence information so that we knew exactly how they were going to perform. Well, then it was up to us to make it perform through management. Between 1991 and 1994, we purchased 5,000 apartment units for our investors in 4 states. So we then managed those properties and increased the value of them. By 1994, I was running Darkor Management Group along with the team that was assembled, and my dad was acting as the asset manager out of California. In 1996, I rewrote the entire policy and procedure manual on every single thing that we do, and in doing that, reorganized the company to increase the bottom line, the net operating income, by over $1 million. Just so you know, that increases the value of the portfolio by over $12 million. So in 1 year, we bumped up the value by over $12 million through what we did. We ended up managing those properties and taking care of them until 2001, where we just thought we were at the top of the market and decided to sell the portfolio. And sold that portfolio for the owners with an incredible profit. Overall, another term you haven't learned yet is internal rate of return. Over a 30% internal rate of return during those 10 years. Incredible returns. When we sold at what we thought was the top of the market, it wasn't. There was still more upside, but you never get hurt taking your profit early. Here we are in 2011, and we're seeing unprecedented in my lifetime buying opportunities again. The market is down such that there's incredible buying opportunities that are going to see incredible returns over the next 5 years. So since 2001, we've just been focusing on little deals here and there, waiting for the next market correction, which we find ourselves at now. The best time to be buying in my lifetime. So our goal is to teach you how to invest in commercial real estate. Now we're going to start small and talk about residential and then go into commercial, and how you can make that transition from residential to commercial. There's a whole lot of benefits, and it's not as hard as you think. So pay attention. We're going to have fun.